Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures, where humanity always rises. The alien exploration ship Xiron 9 moved slowly through deep space. Its metal body was smooth and dark, designed for long journeys. Inside the ship, the crew stayed quiet. Everyone knew where they were going. They were close to the edge of human territory. This place was marked in every star map, with the same warning. No ship ever returned from there. Not one. The galaxy had many dangers, but human space was different. It was silent. Too silent. That silence was the reason Xiron 9 existed. They were sent to learn the truth. Captain Ralvek stood at the front of the command deck. His eyes stayed fixed on the main screen. A thin red line glowed in space. That line was the border. Beyond it was human territory. Ralvek had seen battlefields, dying stars, and broken worlds, but this border made his chest feel heavy. Around him, the crew worked without speaking. They did not joke. They did not argue. Fear filled the room, even if no one said it out loud. The navigation officer finally broke the silence. "Captain, long-range scanners are failing." Ralvek turned slowly. "Failing how?" The officer swallowed. "They are not broken. They just stopped working when pointed at human space." That made the room colder. Systems on Xiron 9 were built to scan black holes and neutron stars. Nothing had ever blocked them before. Ralvek nodded once. "Switch to backup systems." The officer tried. The result was the same. Screens showed nothing. No stars. No signals. Just darkness. The science officer stepped forward. "Captain, this is not normal space." Her voice shook slightly. "Energy readings are stable, but space feels controlled." Ralvek did not like that word. Controlled. Space was wild and endless. No species controlled it. Yet here, near the human border, everything felt quiet and tight, like the galaxy was holding its breath. Ralvek remembered old stories. Fleets that vanished. Empires that refused to speak about humans. Every story ended the same way. Do not enter. Do not ask. Do not return. A warning alarm sounded softly. The ship slowed down by itself. The engine power dropped without any command. Who touched the controls? Ralvek asked. No one answered. The engine officer raised both hands. "Not me, Captain." Another alarm followed. Internal systems began to reset. Lights dimmed, then returned. Xiron 9 was still moving, but now it drifted forward, pulled by something unseen. The border line on the screen disappeared. They had crossed it. The moment they entered human space, sound vanished. Even the low hum of the ship felt weaker. The stars ahead looked strange. They were there, but they did not shine. They looked distant, like painted lights on a wall. The crew felt watched. Not by sensors, not by machines, by something aware. Ralvek's breathing slowed. He forced calm into his voice. "All crew, remain at stations. No aggressive actions." He knew it was useless. If humans wanted them gone, Xiron 9 would already be dust. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. That was worse than an attack. Fear grows in silence. The crew waited for weapons fire, for warnings, for something. Instead, a single new signal appeared on the screen. It was clean. Clear. Perfect. No known alien code. No encryption they recognized. The signal opened by itself. A voice filled the command deck. "Calm. Steady. Human. You have crossed into restricted space." The crew froze. Ralvek felt his spine tighten. The voice did not sound angry. It did not sound curious. It sounded certain. Ralvek stepped closer to the console. "This is Captain Ralvek of the exploration ship Xiron 9. We come in peace." The human voice replied instantly. "We know." That answer shocked him more than any weapon could. The voice continued. "Your ship has been tracked since it left your home system." The science officer whispered, "That is impossible." Human space was light years away. No species had that level of reach. Ralvek spoke carefully. "If you knew we were coming, why allow us to enter?" There was a pause. Not because the human needed time. Because the pause was chosen. "Because you chose to cross the border," the voice said. Now you will learn why others did not return. The lights on Xiron 9 flickered again. The ship stopped moving completely. Outside, space bent slightly, like glass under pressure. The crew watched in horror as their escape route disappeared. Behind them, space looked normal. Ahead, it looked closed. Not blocked. Closed. Ralvek understood something then. Humans did not guard their border with ships. They guarded it with reality itself. The human voice spoke one final time. Remain calm. Any attempt to escape will fail. The signal ended. Silence returned. No countdown. No threat. Just truth. Ralvek looked at his crew. Strong soldiers. Skilled explorers. All of them pale with fear. He realized the stories were wrong. Ships did not disappear in human space. They were simply never allowed to leave. And Xiron 9 had just become another secret the galaxy was never meant to know. The Xiron 9 remained frozen in space. No force pushed it. No cables held it. The ship simply could not move. Engines responded to commands but produced no power. Thrusters fired, yet the ship stayed still. It was as if space itself had decided Xiron 9 was not allowed to leave. Captain Ralvek ordered system checks again and again. Every system reported normal status. Nothing was damaged. Nothing was blocked. Still nothing worked. The crew felt helpless. In war, there is noise and motion. Here, there was only silence and control. The crew began to notice something else. Time felt strange. Not slower. Not faster. Just heavier. Seconds stretched in their minds. Every sound felt too loud. Every movement felt watched. The science officer studied the readings, with shaking hands. "Captain," she said softly, "this space is active." Ralvek turned. "Explain." She swallowed. "Energy flows are adjusting around us. Not reacting. Adjusting. Like we are inside a system, not an empty void." That idea frightened everyone more than weapons ever could. Long-range communication attempts failed. Short-range signals bounced back instantly. It was not jamming. It was filtering. Only approved signals were allowed. The crew realized they were inside something carefully designed. A human-made environment. Not a base. Not a station. Something larger. Something invisible. The galaxy outside felt far away now. Human space did not feel like territory. It felt like a closed room. Suddenly, a small object appeared ahead of the ship. No warp flash. No energy spike. It simply existed. The object was tiny compared to Xiron 9. Bare metal. Simple shape. No markings. No visible weapons. The tactical officer stared at the screen. "That cannot be a warship." Ralvek nodded. "It isn't." The object moved slowly around Xiron 9, keeping a perfect distance. It scanned them without beams or lights. Data flowed out of Xiron 9 without permission. Crew heart rates spiked as personal information appeared on the screens. Biological data. Language patterns. Neural responses. Everything was being read. The science officer whispered, "This drone is old." Ralvek looked at her. "Old." She nodded. "The design is primitive. No advanced alloys. No exotic energy." The truth felt wrong. How could something so simple control them so completely? The drone completed its scan and stopped. It waited. Minutes passed. No message came. The drone did not attack. It did not threaten. It simply observed. That made the crew uneasy. Enemies attack. Predators wait. One of the younger officers lost control. He rushed to the weapons console and powered a targeting system. The moment the system activated, the lights dimmed. A sharp tone echoed through the ship. The weapons shut down instantly. The officer froze. He had not pressed anything. Ralvek turned slowly. "Stand down," he ordered. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. The officer stepped back, shaking. The drone had not moved. It did not need to. The human voice returned, speaking through every system at once. "We advise you not to test limits you do not understand." The tone was not angry. It was not loud. It was patient, like a teacher correcting a mistake. Ralvek responded, "Why are you watching us?" There was a brief pause. "Because observation is enough," the voice said. Force is wasteful. The drone moved away, drifting back into the darkness. No farewell. No warning. Just gone. The crew watched until it disappeared completely. Some expected relief. None came. The silence felt deeper now. More complete. Ralvek understood the message. Humans did not need to stay close. Their presence was constant, even when unseen. The ship remained trapped. Hours passed. No attack came. No further contact. The crew's fear changed shape. Panic faded into dread. They began to talk quietly. Old stories surfaced. Ancient records of fleets that vanished without a trace. At the time, everyone believed humans destroyed them. Now Xiron 9 knew better. Destruction was loud. This was quiet. This was removal. The science officer reviewed recorded data from the drone scan. "Captain," she said, "they mapped us faster than we could scan a rock." Ralvek nodded. "They do not fear us." That truth hurt. Empires were built on fear and power. Humans used neither. They did not threaten. They did not boast. They simply acted. A final system message appeared on the main screen. Not a voice. Just text. Clear and direct. "You are not prisoners. You are guests." The crew exchanged looks. Guests who could not leave. Guests who were watched by invisible eyes. Ralvek understood the meaning. Humans allowed entry. Humans controlled exit. That was the rule. As Xiron 9 drifted in silent human space, Captain Ralvek realized the greatest horror was not human weapons. It was human confidence. They did not rush. They did not react. They already knew the outcome. The silence was not empty. It was watching. Captain Ralvek ordered the ship into low-power mode. There was nothing else to do. Xiron 9 floated inside human space, like a thought that refused to fade. The crew moved slowly, carefully, as if loud steps might anger the silence around them. No new messages came from the humans. No drones appeared. Yet everyone felt watched. The feeling never left. It pressed against their minds, calm and heavy. Ralvek knew waiting would break his crew. Fear grows stronger in stillness. He needed to give them purpose. He turned to the data officer. "Access the deep archive," he ordered. The officer hesitated. "Captain, those files are restricted." Ralvek's voice hardened. "So is our situation." The officer nodded and began unlocking sealed memory cores. Ancient records filled the screen. Files collected over thousands of years. Most were marked as myths, failures, or unsolved losses. All had one thing in common: human space. The first record showed a massive alien fleet entering the border. Hundreds of ships, proud and powerful. The video quality was poor, but the confidence was clear. The fleet moved in formation, weapons charged, shields glowing. The final frame showed the borderline fading away. Then the feed ended. No explosion. No distress call. Nothing. The fleet vanished without sound. The second record was different. A single research vessel, much like Xiron 9. Its crew spoke calmly at first, joking about human weakness. Hours later, their voices changed. Fear crept in. Systems stopped responding. One voice whispered, "They are letting us see this." Then silence. The file ended. Ralvek felt his throat tighten. These were not stories. These were warnings ignored. The science officer studied the data. "Captain," she said softly, "notice the pattern." Ralvek looked closer. Every ship that entered human space disappeared. Every ship that stayed outside survived. No battles were recorded. No wreckage found. The galaxy had searched many times. Nothing was ever recovered. Humans did not leave evidence. They did not need to. The crew gathered around screen. Even the strongest among them looked small. One officer asked, "Why keep these records?" Ralvek answered quietly, "Because we never wanted to believe." The galaxy feared humans, but fear was mixed with doubt. No one had proof. No survivors. No explanation. Xiron 9 was now inside the truth everyone avoided. Another file opened. This one was older than most civilizations. The symbols were translated slowly. It told of an ancient empire that challenged humans. The empire demanded tribute. Humans did not reply. Fleets crossed the border. None returned. The Empire collapsed within a generation, not from war, but from fear. No one dared expand near human space again. Ralvek understood then. Humans did not destroy empires. They allowed them to destroy themselves. The tactical officer clenched his fists. "Why do humans hide?" he asked. "Why not rule the galaxy?" The science officer answered before Ralvek could. "Because they do not need to. Power seeks display when it is uncertain. True power is quiet." The words felt heavy, but true. Humans had nothing to prove. The data officer found a final file. It was sealed with a warning marker. "Captain," he said, "this one was banned from all networks." Ralvek nodded. "Open it." The screen showed a human message, ancient and short. It was broadcast once, then erased. The message read, "We will not expand. We will not warn again. Do not enter." The galaxy ignored it. Curiosity is louder than caution. Ralvek stepped back from the screen. His crew looked to him for answers. He had none that would comfort them. "We were not attacked," he said. "We were studied." That realization hurt more than death. It meant humans never saw them as a threat. They were samples, data points, visitors in a controlled experiment. A low alert sounded. Not a warning, a notification. New data access granted. Human systems had opened a channel inside Xiron 9's archive. Files appeared that were not theirs. Human records. Clean, perfect, detailed. They showed every lost ship, every crew, every moment inside human space. Humans had watched them all, recorded them all, learned from them all. The crew stared in silence. Ralvek felt cold understanding settle in his mind. Humans did not erase ships out of anger. They removed them to protect something. The galaxy believed human space was empty because humans wanted it that way. Empty space is safe space. Controlled space is dangerous. As the final file played, Captain Ralvek realized the truth behind the missing ships. They were not lost. They were archived. And Xiron 9 had just been added to the collection. Xiron 9 drifted deeper into human space, without moving at all. The ship's position changed on the screen, yet no force pushed it. Space itself carried the vessel forward like a slow current. Captain Ralvek watched the display in silence. He finally understood the truth. Humans did not capture ships. They allowed ships to move exactly where humans wanted. Control was invisible. Perfect. Total. Ralvek ordered a full engine restart. The crew obeyed quickly. Power surged through the ship. Engines burned bright. For a moment, hope returned. Then reality pushed back. Space bent again, gently but firmly. The engines lost purpose. Energy vanished into nothing. Xiron 9 stopped as if held by an unseen hand. No damage, no heat, no reaction. The trap was not mechanical. It was physical law rewritten. The science officer spoke carefully. "Captain, our engines are working. Space is refusing them." Ralvek nodded. He had expected that answer. "Can we cut all power?" he asked. "Maybe drift free?" The officer tried. Systems shut down one by one. The ship went dark except for emergency lights. Xiron 9 floated silently. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then space adjusted again. The ship stopped drifting. Even surrender was not allowed. Fear spread through the crew. Some sat frozen at their stations. Others whispered prayers to old gods. Ralvek remained standing. Fear was useless now. Understanding was survival. He realized humans had not built walls or weapons. They had built rules. Space followed those rules. Anyone inside obeyed them. The main screen changed. Not a warning. Not an attack. A visual. Space ahead folded like a map. Lines appeared, showing invisible borders and pathways. Xiron 9 sat inside a glowing shape. A cage made of mathematics and energy. Human space was not defended. It was designed. The human voice returned, calm and patient. "You are experiencing boundary stabilization," it said. Ralvek answered slowly. "You are trapping us." The voice corrected him. "No. You trapped yourselves when you crossed the border." There was no pride in the words. Only fact. The tactical officer spoke through clenched teeth. "Why show us this?" The human voice paused. Because understanding prevents panic, it replied. Panic causes damage. Ralvek felt anger rise, then fade. The humans were not cruel. Cruelty required emotion. This was procedure. The crew studied the human display. It showed ships entering human space across history. Lines closed around them. Paths vanished. Escape routes erased. Every lost ship followed the same pattern. There was no randomness, no mercy, just consistency. Ralvek understood why no wreckage was ever found. There was nowhere to crash, nowhere to fight. The trap ended conflict before it began. One officer whispered, "This is not a prison. It is a filter." The science officer nodded. "It separates threats from non-threats." Ralvek added quietly, "And curiosity from survival." Humans did not stop ships at the border. They let ships reveal themselves by crossing it. A new message appeared. "Your species is not classified as hostile," it read. The crew released a breath they did not know they were holding. Then the next line appeared. "Your actions will determine future classification." Fear returned stronger than before. Survival was not guaranteed. It was conditional. Ralvek stepped forward. "What do you want from us?" he asked. The human voice answered instantly. "Nothing." The word felt heavy. "Then why keep us?" Ralvek asked. "Because you are here," the voice replied, "and because release requires understanding." The science officer looked at Ralvek. "Captain, they are teaching us." Ralvek nodded. Humans were not interrogating them. They were observing how they reacted to truth, how they handled power beyond their control. Every response was data. Suddenly, space outside the ship changed color. Not bright, just deeper. The stars dimmed further. The cage tightened slightly. Not as a threat, as a demonstration. The human voice spoke again. "This is a minimal adjustment." The crew felt pressure in their chests. Not physical, mental. Space reminded them who decided the limits. Ralvek realized something terrifying. Humans could erase Xiron 9 at any moment. Yet they chose not to. Destruction was easy. Control required effort. Humans invested effort. That meant Xiron 9 still had value. The display faded. Normal darkness returned. The cage remained unseen but felt. The human voice gave final instruction. "Remain stable. Further contact will follow." The signal ended. Silence returned. Captain Ralvek looked at his crew. He saw fear, awe, and something else. Respect. Humans were not monsters. They were engineers of reality. And Xiron 9 was no longer exploring human space. It was inside a human decision. Xiron 9 remained locked inside the invisible cage. No alarm sounded. No systems failed. Everything worked perfectly. Yet nothing mattered. Captain Ralvek stood at the center of command deck, watching the empty darkness ahead. The crew waited. After learning the truth about human control, silence felt heavier than ever. Every second felt like judgment delayed. Without warning, something appeared in front of the ship. No flash. No energy burst. One moment space was empty. The next, a human vessel existed. It was small. Smaller than Xiron 9. Its shape was simple and uneven, like it had been built for function, not beauty. No glowing engines. No massive weapons. No shields visible. It looked old. Almost weak. That scared the crew more than any warship. The tactical officer zoomed in. "Captain, there are no weapon signatures." Ralvek nodded. "That does not mean it is unarmed." The human ship moved slowly, stopping at a respectful distance. It did not lock weapons. It did not scan aggressively. It simply waited. The message was clear. Humans did not need to prove dominance. A communication channel opened on its own. The same calm human voice spoke again. "Captain Ralvek of Xiron 9, welcome." The captain's eyes narrowed. "You know my name?" "Yes," the voice replied. "We know your crew, your history, your intent." A pause followed. "You came seeking truth." Ralvek felt his breath slow. "Yes," he answered. The human voice continued. "Then you will receive it." The human ship moved slightly closer. Visual data streamed onto Xiron 9 screens. Inside the human vessel, A single figure stood on the bridge. A human. No armor. No weapons. Just a uniform and calm eyes. The crew had imagined humans as giants or monsters. Instead, they saw something worse. Normality. The science officer whispered. They look small. Ralvek answered quietly. Power does not need size. The human commander spoke again. I am Commander Hale. He looked directly into the camera, as if he could see Ralvek. I will speak plainly. Fear clouds learning. Ralvek nodded. Why bring a single ship? Hale replied. Because one is enough. There was no pride in his voice. Only certainty. Hale continued. Human space is not empty. It is silent by choice. Silence keeps the galaxy stable. Ralvek asked, At what cost? Hale's eyes did not change. At the cost of curiosity. The crew listened closely. Hale spoke of early humanity. Weak. Divided. Attacked. Humans had learned quickly. Strength alone was not enough. Speed was not enough. They learned control was survival. They stopped expanding. They stopped showing power. They built borders that required no guards. Ralvek understood. Humans did not conquer space. They mastered it. Hale raised his hand. The human ship powered down its engines. It drifted freely, yet stayed perfectly in place. This ship is unarmed, Hale said. Gasps filled Xiron 9's bridge. It does not need weapons inside controlled space. The message was clear. The environment itself was the weapon. Ralvek asked the question burning in every mind. Why do ships not return? Hale answered without pause. Because return requires permission. The words were simple. Final. Hale continued. Most who enter do not understand. They resist. Resistance damages stability. Ralvek lowered his gaze. And we? Hale studied him. You observe. You listen. That matters. A new image appeared. Records of lost ships. The same ones Xiron 9 had seen. This time, the ending played further. Ships were not destroyed. They were moved. Stored. Disassembled. Studied. Crews were placed in controlled environments. Safe. Alive. Forgotten by the galaxy. Ralvek felt sick. Mercy could be cruel when it erased existence. The tactical officer whispered, They keep them alive. Ralvek replied, Alive is not the same as free. Hale heard them. Freedom ends at borders, he said. Every species learns this. Humans learned early. The human commander stepped closer to the camera. You will not be harmed, he said, but you will be evaluated. Ralvek met his gaze. And if we fail? Hale answered calmly. Then you will not return. No anger. No threat. Just outcome. The human ship began to fade, its image breaking into light and shadow. Hale spoke one last time. Rest. Learn. Do not attempt escape. The channel closed. The ship vanished like it was never there. Silence returned. Captain Ralvek exhaled slowly. The crew looked at him, waiting. He realized something then. Humans did not rule the galaxy with fleets or fear. They ruled it by deciding who was allowed to leave their space. And Xiron 9 was still inside that decision. The Xiron 9 remained steady inside the invisible boundary. After the human ship vanished, the crew felt a strange calm mixed with fear. They had seen a human with their own eyes. Not a legend, not a rumor. A real being who spoke without anger or pride. That alone changed everything. Captain Ralvek stood quietly, allowing the moment to settle. Panic would only waste time. Humans valued understanding. That was clear now. Hours passed before the next contact. During that time, the crew reviewed everything they had learned. Human space was not empty. It was hidden. Every law of movement, energy, and signal was shaped by human design. The silence was intentional. Ralvek realized hiding was not weakness. It was strategy. A species that shows everything invites attack. Humans chose the opposite. The human voice returned, softer than before. You are ready to understand, it said. The main screen activated. Images appeared. Not battles. Not fleets. History. Early human worlds burned. Cities fell. Primitive ships destroyed by alien raids. The crew watched in silence. Humans were once prey. That truth shocked them. Humanity had survived not by strength, but by learning faster than their enemies. The voice continued. We were many nations, it said. Divided, weak, curious. The images showed humans arguing, fighting each other, wasting resources. Then came unity. Not perfect, but focused. Survival forced change. Humans stopped expanding. They stopped signaling their location. They began to watch instead of act. The science officer whispered. They learned patience. Ralvek nodded. Humans did not strike back immediately. They studied attackers. They learned their weapons, their behavior, their weaknesses. Then humans changed the rules. They did not build bigger guns. They built safer space. The images shifted. Human engineers, working on massive structures. Not stations, not ships, fields, networks, control systems woven through space itself, invisible walls, predictive systems. Human space became a puzzle only humans could solve. Anyone else triggered containment. Humans turned their territory into a quiet trap. The voice spoke again. We hide because visibility invites conflict, it said. Conflict wastes lives. Ralvek felt something twist inside him. The galaxy believed humans were cowards. In truth, humans were careful. They removed temptation. Without visible power, no one challenged them openly. Those who crossed the border chose to risk everything. The crew watched records of alien fleets stopping at the human border. Some turned away. They survived. Others crossed. They vanished. Over time, curiosity faded into fear. Human space became a blank spot on the map. A question no one wanted answered. The tactical officer spoke quietly. Why allow any ships to enter? The human voice answered instantly. Because knowledge cannot be locked forever. Humans allowed limited entry to learn about the galaxy, about changing threats, about new species. Xiron 9 was part of that process. Ralvek realized something important. Humans were not afraid of invasion. They were afraid of misunderstanding. A war fought in ignorance destroys everything. Humans preferred silence over explanation. Explanation leads to argument. Silence leads to distance. The images changed again. A massive battle appeared. Humans did not fight directly. Enemy fleets entered human space and lost coordination. Systems failed. Fleets scattered. Some ships collided. Others drifted endlessly. Humans did not fire a single shot. The enemy defeated itself. The galaxy never saw this. Humans erased the evidence. The science officer's voice shook. They end wars before they begin. Ralvek replied softly. They removed the reason to fight. Human space was not defended by soldiers. It was defended by inevitability. The human voice addressed Ralvek directly. Your species explores, it said. Exploration leads to contact. Contact leads to conflict. Ralvek responded honestly. We believed understanding required presence. The voice paused. So did we. Once. That single sentence carried deep regret. The crew learned then why humans hid. Not because they feared the galaxy. Because they had seen what curiosity became when mixed with power. Humans chose isolation to protect both themselves and others. Crossing their border was not punished. It was corrected. The final image showed the galaxy map. Human space was small compared to others. Yet influence spread far beyond its borders. Fear, mystery, and silence shaped behavior. Humans controlled the galaxy without ruling it. The human voice ended the lesson. You now know why we hide, it said. Understanding brings responsibility. The screen went dark. Silence returned. Captain Ralvek looked at his crew. Their fear had changed into respect. Humans were not monsters in the dark. They were guardians of balance. And Xiron 9 was now closer to learning the final truth. Xiron 9 remained silent after the lesson ended. The crew did not speak for a long time. What they had learned changed everything. Human silence was not empty. It was chosen. Captain Ralvek felt the weight of responsibility settle on him. Understanding was not a gift. It was a test. He knew now that humans did not judge ships by weapons or size. They judged by behavior. A new alert appeared on the main screen. Not a warning, not a threat. A title formed in clear symbols. Judgment protocol initiated. The words made every crew member tense. The science officer read the data stream. Captain, this is not a trial in the way we know. It is an evaluation process. Ralvek nodded slowly. Then every choice matters. The human voice returned, steady and neutral. Judgment does not mean punishment, it said. It means classification. Ralvek stepped forward. Classification into what? The answer came without delay. Visitor. Observer. Threat. Silence followed. The final word echoed in every mind. The ship's internal systems adjusted. Not forcefully. Smoothly. The environment changed slightly. Light softened. Sound levels balanced. The crew felt calmer against their will. Emotions were being stabilized. The humans removed panic so behavior could be observed clearly. Ralvek understood this was not kindness. It was accuracy. The first test began without announcement. A false system failure appeared. Life support in one section showed critical damage. Alarm sounded. Crew members reacted instantly. Medical teams rushed. Engineers sealed compartments. No one panicked. No one tried to save themselves first. The human systems recorded everything. Response time. Cooperation. Sacrifice. The alarm ended. The failure vanished. The human voice spoke. Test 1 complete. The crew exchanged looks. Some were angry. Others relieved. Ralvek kept his voice calm. You created the danger. Yes, the voice replied. Real danger reveals instinct. Simulated danger reveals character. The second test followed quickly. A false message appeared from an unknown alien power, offering rescue in exchange for data about human space. The offer promised safety and return. Some crew members hesitated. Ralvek watched closely. He spoke clearly. We do not trade secrets we do not own. The message faded. The human voice returned. Test 2 complete. The science officer whispered, They are testing loyalty. Ralvek answered quietly, and restraint. Humans did not want allies who talked too much. Silence was part of survival. The third test was harder. Human systems released fragments of truth. Images of Xiron 9's possible future. One path showed safe release. Another showed endless containment. Another showed disappearance from all records. The crew saw themselves forgotten by the galaxy. Fear returned, sharp and deep. The human voice asked one question. Do you accept the risk you chose? Ralvek answered without hesitation. Yes. The crew looked at him. He continued. We crossed the border knowing the danger. We do not ask to escape consequence. The silence that followed felt different. Heavy but thoughtful. Time passed. Longer than before. The ship remained stable. No new tests appeared. The crew waited, unsure if waiting itself was part of the judgment. Ralvek realized humans valued patience more than speed. Impulsive species caused wars. Patient ones avoided them. Finally, the human commander Hale appeared again on the screen. His expression was calm but serious. Your evaluation is near completion, he said. Ralvek stood straight. What is our status? Hale replied, undecided. The word felt sharper than any weapon. Hale continued, your species shows curiosity without aggression, cooperation under stress, respect for boundaries. Ralvek listened carefully. Hale then added, but curiosity is dangerous when it spreads. The crew understood. Knowledge of human space could destabilize the galaxy. Ralvek spoke slowly. If released, we will speak carefully. Hale's eyes held his. Silence is safer than care. The truth hurt, but Ralvek accepted it. Some knowledge should not travel freely. The judgment protocol reached its final stage. A simple choice appeared on the screen. Return with limits, or remain and observe. The crew looked to Ralvek. He felt the weight of their lives. Return meant survival and warning the galaxy. Remain meant knowledge, but disappearance. Ralvek closed his eyes briefly. Then he spoke. We choose return. With limits. The screen paused. The human systems processed the answer. Hale nodded once. Judgment complete. The words appeared clearly. Classification visitor. Relief washed over the crew. They were not a threat. They were not prisoners. But they were not free in the way they once were. As the invisible cage loosened slightly, Captain Ralvek understood why no ship ever returned unchanged. Human space did not destroy bodies. It reshaped choices. And Xiron, 9 had just been judged worthy to leave with the greatest burden of all, knowledge that could never be fully shared. The invisible cage around Xiron, 9 loosened, but it did not vanish. The ship could move slightly now, slow and careful, like an animal allowed to breathe but not run. The crew felt the change immediately. Engines responded with weak thrust. Navigation systems showed limited paths marked in calm human symbols. Freedom existed, but only inside lines drawn by someone else. Captain Ralvek understood the message. Permission was temporary. Commander Hale appeared again on the main screen. His face was calm, but his eyes carried focus. Your classification allows limited movement, he said. Further decisions will define your future relationship with human space. Ralvek listened closely. Every word mattered. Hale continued. Your presence has already altered probability lines. The science officer frowned. Probability lines? Hale nodded. Your survival creates curiosity. Curiosity creates movement. Movement creates risk. The words were simple, but their meaning was heavy. Xiron, 9 was no longer just a ship. It was a signal. The galaxy would notice if they returned. Humans did not fear war. They feared spread. Ralvek asked the question forming in every mind. What choice remains? Hale answered calmly. You will decide how much of what you learn survives. The screen changed. 2 paths appeared. One was marked return. The other was marked witness. The crew leaned forward in silence. Hale explained the first path. Return meant Xiron. 9 would be allowed to leave human space. Their memories would remain, but certain details would be blocked. Not erased. Inaccessible. They would remember fear, power, and warning, but not structure or method. They could speak of danger, not design. The galaxy would hear a warning without proof. The second path was different. Witness meant Xiron. 9 would stay longer. They would see more, learn more, understand human systems deeply. In exchange, return would be impossible. They would become observers, removed from the galaxy, but kept alive. Ralvek felt his chest tighten. Knowledge demanded sacrifice. The crew began to whisper. Some wanted to return. Home meant life, family, meaning. Others wanted to stay. Truth mattered more than comfort. The tactical officer spoke. If we return with only half-truth, others may attack anyway. The science officer replied. If we stay, no one will ever know. Hale watched without interrupting. Humans did not push. They allowed species to reveal themselves through choice. Ralvek raised his hand. Silence returned. He spoke slowly. If we stay, the galaxy remains ignorant. If we return, the galaxy receives warning. He looked at Hale. Which outcome do humans prefer? Hale answered honestly. We prefer stability. Ralvek nodded. That was not an answer. It was responsibility shifted. Humans refused to decide for others. That was how they avoided resentment. Every consequence was earned. Ralvek turned to his crew. He saw fear, hope, and pride. We did not come here to disappear, he said. We came to learn so others would not repeat our mistake. The crew listened. If we stay, the galaxy learns nothing. If we return, the galaxy may survive longer. The science officer spoke softly. But what if they do not listen? Ralvek replied. Then that choice becomes theirs. Silence followed. Hale observed carefully. The choice screen pulsed gently. Time was given, but not endless. Humans respected decision, not delay. Ralvek stepped forward. We choose return, he said. We accept limits. The screen paused. Systems adjusted. The human voice spoke again. Choice acknowledged. Hale appeared one last time. Your warning will not prevent all conflict, he said. Some will test us. Ralvek met his gaze. Then they will learn what we learned. Hale nodded once. That is how balance is maintained. The human ship appeared briefly, then vanished again. The invisible cage shifted. Lines opened. A single corridor through space formed ahead of Xiron 9. It led outward, away from human space. The crew felt mixed emotions. Relief, loss, fear. They were leaving something vast and terrible behind. Yet part of it would travel with them. Ralvek understood the final truth of the choice. Humans did not stop war by force. They offered survival to those willing to carry the burden of warning. As Xiron 9 slowly entered the corridor, Captain Ralvek looked back at the dark silence of human space. It did not follow. It did not chase. It simply watched. And in that moment, he realized the greatest weapon humans possessed was not power, but restraint. Xiron 9 moved slowly along the corridor of permission through human space. The crew remained tense, alert to every vibration, every signal. Even though they were technically free to move, the knowledge of what humans could do lingered heavily. Captain Ralvek understood that leaving did not mean safety. Human power was unseen, controlled, complete. The crew had witnessed a fraction, but they all felt it pressing against their minds. Silence could hide far more than weapons. The science officer studied the data streams appearing spontaneously on the main console. "Captain," she whispered, "these readings, energy patterns we cannot replicate. Humans manipulate matter and space itself." Ralvek leaned forward, examining the lines that curved like living threads across space. "Are they weapons?" he asked. She shook her head. "Not weapons in the sense we know. They control probability, physics, and energy flow. Destruction is a side effect, but only if they choose." The tactical officer muttered under his breath. "They could erase the entire galaxy if they wanted." Ralvek nodded. "But they don't. That is what terrifies me." Every member of the crew understood that humans did not need fleets, bombs, or fleets of starships. Control over reality itself was enough. It explained why no ship had ever returned before Xiron 9. Suddenly, the main display shifted. Images appeared of past intruders, not destroyed but studied. Some had survived for years, isolated in controlled environments. Yet all of their attempts to escape had failed. Space itself was subtly altered around them. Systems and trajectories had been bent to human will without a visible hand. Every crew member felt chills as they realized that humans had never needed open conflict. Their power was quiet, invisible, complete. Ralvek turned to the crew. "We've seen what humans let us see. The rest we cannot imagine. That is their strength." The science officer nodded slowly. "They do not show power to intimidate. They show it when absolutely necessary. Every demonstration is calculated. Every effect has a purpose." The tactical officer's face was pale. "Then why allow us to leave at all?" Ralvek did not answer immediately. The question had no simple reply. A sudden alert appeared on the screen. Not a threat, not a warning. Just a visual. A small star in the distance dimmed, folded inward, and vanished. The crew stared in silence. The science officer whispered, "They just removed a star from space." Ralvek's eyes widened. They could manipulate stars as easily as engines. That is not war. That is total control. The tactical officer shook. "We survived because they allowed it, not because we were strong." The human voice returned through the ship's systems. Calm, almost gentle. "You are witnessing potential, not threat. Knowledge without discipline becomes danger." Ralvek's hands clenched. So every species that enters human space is tested. Their strength, their choices, everything measured. The voice continued. "We display only what is necessary for understanding. The rest is unnecessary." The crew felt the weight of that sentence. Humans could end entire fleets. They could erase systems. They could manipulate time, energy, and matter. They had chosen restraint for thousands of years. Every alien species that underestimated them had vanished quietly. Xiron 9 now knew why no one had returned. Not because humans wanted death, but because they commanded power beyond imagination. The science officer activated a visual simulation. It showed human space extending far beyond what maps suggested. Energy fields wrapped entire star systems in invisible grids. Probability algorithms moved entire planets subtly, ensuring stability. Even small actions could be redirected. "Captain," she said, "they do not fight battles. Battles do not occur here because conflict itself is impossible." Ralvek swallowed. That level of control made every armed fleet in the galaxy irrelevant. The tactical officer asked, "If they are patient enough to hold this power for centuries, what stops them from ending everything?" Ralvek answered quietly, "Choice, wisdom, observation." Humans had survived not because they were strongest in the conventional sense, but because they were calm, deliberate, and patient. That patience was far more dangerous than fleets or weapons. It was not visible. It could not be challenged. It only waited. Suddenly, the ship drifted through a region of space that shimmered strangely. Sensors showed impossible readings. Time appeared to stretch and shrink simultaneously. Crew members felt weightless and heavy in the same moment. The science officer whispered, "They are demonstrating time manipulation." Ralvek's voice was barely audible. "Not to attack, to teach restraint and awe, to remind us how fragile our understanding is." Every crew member realized that the humans had not only mastered energy and matter, but the flow of time itself. The main screen flickered again. Images of alien fleets entering human space appeared. None had returned. Each image showed subtle human adjustments, changes to physics, pathways folded invisibly, ships guided gently into containment. None were destroyed. None were left to struggle. Humans removed risk quietly. The crew felt a mixture of horror and respect. Civilization survived not through combat, but through control and precision. Ralvek turned to the tactical officer. "We cannot fight them. Not now. Not ever. Our fleets, our weapons, nothing can touch humans if they choose restraint." The tactical officer nodded slowly, fear and awe etched into his face. "Then why allow us to leave it all?" Ralvek looked out at the dark expanse. "Because restraint is also a lesson. They allow us to understand danger and responsibility without punishment." The human voice spoke one last time. "You now see a fraction of our potential. Remember it. Share warning, not method. Survival depends on understanding choice, not power alone." Xiron 9 drifted forward, leaving the strange shimmering field. The crew exhaled, realizing they had glimpsed the unseen strength that ruled human space. They were alive, but forever changed. Knowledge had weight, and humans had shown them how heavy it could be. Xiron 9 floated quietly along the path allowed by human space. The crew felt the tension of every moment, every subtle movement of the ship. Their systems worked perfectly, but freedom was limited. Captain Ralvek watched the darkness ahead, knowing humans could alter it at any moment. The lessons of power, patience, and control weighed heavily on everyone. Survival was not about strength. It was about understanding. Suddenly, a new message appeared on the main screen. It was not a voice this time, only symbols translating instantly into clear text. "A warning is necessary." The crew leaned closer, reading carefully. The words were simple but shocking in meaning. Humans had chosen to communicate indirectly. Not with force. Not with threats. Just a warning. "Do not cross our borders. The consequences are final." The text lingered on the screen, as if giving the crew time to feel its weight. Captain Ralvek stepped forward. "Is this for us, or for the galaxy?" The human voice returned softly, calm as before. "Both. You will carry the message. The galaxy will hear it, but few will understand." Ralvek nodded slowly. Every lesson, every test, led to this moment. The crew realized their survival was not a reward. It was a responsibility. The science officer studied the text. "They do not threaten. They state facts. That is more terrifying than any weapon." The tactical officer agreed. It leaves no room for negotiation. No room for escape if ignored. Ralvek understood that humans did not need fleets or bombardment. Knowledge and restraint were enough to enforce obedience. The warning was absolute. Survival depended on heeding it. The message continued to unfold. Details of human capability were intentionally vague. They allowed Xiron 9 to warn others of danger without giving away the methods. Our power is not your concern. The text read. Our control is absolute. Ignorance is survival. Understanding is choice. The crew felt chills. Humans could have displayed everything, yet they chose restraint. Knowledge had limits. Danger had boundaries. Ralvek turned to his crew. We carry this warning, he said. Not proof. Not weapons. Just caution. The galaxy will believe what it wants, but survival depends on understanding the risk. The crew nodded. Fear and respect were mixed in their expressions. They had learned that humans never underestimated the consequences of curiosity. Xiron 9 itself was proof. Survival was permission, not entitlement. The human voice continued through the systems. You will return to your territory. You will speak carefully. Only those who listen will benefit. Some will challenge the warning. Some will ignore it. That is acceptable. Consequences remain. Ralvek felt the weight of this statement. Humans did not threaten everyone. They only required caution. The rest was left to natural consequence. That was the greatest power of all. The crew reviewed the warning again. It was designed to instill caution, not panic. Every phrase was measured. Humans did not exaggerate. They did not appeal to emotion. They appealed to reason. Survival was possible only if species understood limits. Xiron 9 had experienced the full lesson. Now, they were tasked to relay it with care. Miscommunication could lead to disaster. The tactical officer asked, "What if the galaxy ignores the warning?" Ralvek answered quietly, "Then they choose the outcome. Humans will not interfere. The results are theirs alone." The crew shivered. Other species had no idea of the power humans possessed. Few would believe the story. Fewer still would survive ignoring it. The weight of responsibility settled like lead in their chests. The science officer examined the last lines of the message. "They intentionally leave no details," she said. "We see the danger, not the method. That is control beyond comprehension." Ralvek nodded. Humans had shown them enough to inspire respect, fear, and caution. They had shown restraint, and that restraint was stronger than any fleet or weapon ever imagined. Knowledge without understanding was dangerous. Humans ensured the lesson was learned, but only enough to survive. Finally, the message ended. The screen went dark. Silence returned inside the ship. Xiron 9 drifted slowly along the path human systems allowed. The crew exhaled together, a collective release of tension. Yet the weight of what they carried did not lift. Survival was only part of their duty. Knowledge now demanded careful communication. They were the bearers of a warning no one would fully comprehend. That was the final test. Captain Ralvek gathered his crew. "We leave with knowledge," he said. "We leave with responsibility. Human power is not ours to wield. Our survival depends on caution, restraint, and understanding. We cannot exaggerate. We cannot invent. Only truth, carefully spoken." The crew nodded. Fear, awe, and respect were etched in their faces. Every member understood that humans did not need weapons to dominate. They needed patience, observation, and calculated silence. Xiron 9 prepared to exit human space. The invisible boundaries shifted slightly, guiding them along a safe path. The human systems allowed them forward, not out of mercy, but calculation. Humans never forgot. Humans never underestimated. The galaxy outside waited, ignorant of the power watching over it. Xiron 9 carried the first message that many would not believe, a warning for those curious enough to challenge the unknown. The crew felt the weight of history pressing on them as they moved into the void beyond, forever changed by what humans chose to reveal and conceal. Xiron 9 moved steadily along the corridor opened by human systems. The ship's engines responded normally now, but the crew remained tense. Every turn, every reading, reminded them that they were still within the limits set by humans. Captain Ralvek stood at the command deck, silent, watching the stars ahead. They were leaving human space, yet the lessons and warnings remained heavier than any gravity field they had ever crossed. The invisible presence of human control lingered, like a shadow pressing on their minds. The crew worked quietly. Each monitored systems, charts, and readings, but conversation was limited. Fear, Awe and understanding had replaced ordinary curiosity. The science officer finally spoke. "Captain, we can now navigate freely, but our sensors still show subtle manipulations in space." Ralvek nodded. "That is the lesson we carry. Humans do not need to fight. They control. Everything around us obeys rules we barely understand." The tactical officer shivered. "We were allowed to survive. That is not mercy. That is calculation." The crew absorbed this truth. Every previous fleet lost, every ship that vanished, had been measured and guided by the same invisible hand. As Xiron 9 moved outward, a visual message appeared on the main screen. Not urgent, not threatening. Just data. Symbols translated instantly. Carry warning. Respect limits. Survival is conditional on understanding. Ralvek read aloud. "We must speak carefully. Only truth. Only caution." The crew nodded. Words were simple, but the meaning was heavy. Every species would interpret them differently. Some would heed the warning. Others would ignore it, and the consequences would not involve humans. The galaxy had a lesson to learn, and Xiron 9 was the messenger. The science officer studied the data further. "Captain, the subtle changes we saw in space, they extend far beyond our path. Humans do not need ships to monitor or control territory. They only observe, adjust, and allow movement if they wish." Ralvek understood. They never need to strike. Their power is quiet, invisible, absolute. That is what we carry back with us. The tactical officer muttered. "We cannot exaggerate this. No one would believe it fully." Ralvek agreed. Survival required measured speech. Knowledge without restraint would cause chaos. The crew passed through regions where stars shifted slightly, energy flows changed subtly, and space itself seemed to bend. Each adjustment was precise and calm. It was a reminder that humans never wasted effort. Destruction was not necessary. Observation, control, and patience achieved more than any fleet could. Xiron 9 had witnessed a species that mastered reality, yet chose silence over domination. That realization left the crew in awe. Fear mingled with respect, shaping their thoughts for what they would report. A subtle vibration passed through the ship. Not mechanical, not threatening. Ralvek recognized it immediately. "A final guidance," he said. "They are ensuring we follow the safe path outward." The science officer confirmed. "The corridor is aligned, but the rest of space remains untouched. If we stray, forces may redirect us." Ralvek frowned. "It is not just a path. It is a reminder. Humans define the rules. We obey or fail." The tactical officer leaned back, pale. "This is what power looks like when it does not need weapons." Hours passed in tense silence. Xiron 9 traveled steadily away from human territory. The crew reviewed their memory cores, storing every observation. Lessons about human patience, control, and restraint were recorded carefully. Every detail was critical. The science officer whispered, "This knowledge changes everything. Our galaxy has never seen humans in action. Most will dismiss us as exaggerating." Ralvek nodded. "Then our responsibility is heavier. Truth must remain precise. We speak what we know, not what we fear or imagine." As they approached the edge of influence, the corridor began to widen. Stars appeared normal again. Systems responded completely to crew commands. Xiron 9 was truly free. The tactical officer exhaled slowly. Finally, freedom. Ralvek did not respond immediately. Freedom is only perception. Knowledge still binds us. The crew understood. They carried information that could prevent destruction, but could also cause panic if misunderstood. Survival depended on restraint, just as humans had taught them. A final message appeared on the main screen. Symbols translated clearly. "Remember, observation alone is our greatest power. Share warning, not method. Curiosity without understanding is dangerous. The galaxy is not ready for full comprehension." Ralvek read aloud. "We will respect limits. We will not reveal how humans achieve control, only that they exist, and crossing them is perilous." The crew felt the weight of this. Knowledge without restraint was itself a threat. Humans had ensured they understood this. The science officer added quietly, Captain, the crew we carry now, we are changed. We will never think of space the same way. Ralvek nodded. That is the lesson. Respect for power beyond understanding. Patience over aggression. Silence over noise. The tactical officer agreed. And yet, we return to the galaxy. The message is our only weapon. That is terrifying. Ralvek smiled faintly. Not a weapon. A responsibility. Xiron, 9 moved outward into deep space. Stars returned to their normal brilliance. The corridor faded completely. Human influence was no longer visible. Yet everyone aboard knew it had never left. The lessons, the tests, the demonstrations of quiet power, they remained inside the minds of every crew member. Survival was not chance. It was understanding and choice. Captain Ralvek addressed the crew. We leave human space alive. We carry knowledge. We carry responsibility. Our mission is now to warn, not to act. To survive, we speak truth with care. The galaxy may not believe us, but what matters is that we understand the danger fully. That is how humans taught us control, restraint, and survival. The crew nodded silently, the weight of their experience settling into every thought. Xiron, 9 moved forward, leaving the invisible boundaries behind. The galaxy stretched wide and unknown ahead. Yet the crew was forever changed. Humans had revealed only enough to survive. That knowledge, that restraint, was the heaviest cargo they had ever carried. And as stars stretched into distance, Ralvek knew one truth above all. The galaxy had never seen power like this, and few ever would. Xiron, 9 drifted deeper into open space, leaving human influence behind. The crew felt lighter in movement, yet heavier in thought. They were free, but the lessons remained. Captain Ralvek stood at the command deck, silent, staring at the stars. Survival had not been earned by strength or skill alone. It had been granted because humans had observed, measured, and judged them. That realization weighed heavily. Knowledge carried its own gravity, and the crew understood they were now its bearers. The tactical officer broke the silence. Captain, we survived, but what now? How do we carry this warning to the galaxy? Ralvek turned, his eyes calm but serious. Carefully. Every word, every gesture, every report matters. Knowledge without restraint becomes a weapon. Humans did not teach us to strike. They taught us to survive by understanding. The crew nodded. They had seen what unchecked curiosity could cost. The memory of vanished fleets and silenced crews haunted them still. The science officer reviewed all data collected during their time in human space. Captain, the subtle manipulations, the tests, the judgment, it all shows control without destruction. They do not fight wars. They prevent them. That is power beyond imagination. Ralvek's voice was low. And that is what we must warn the galaxy about. Not how humans operate. Not their methods. Only that crossing their space is perilous. Curiosity can kill if it ignores limits. The tactical officer shivered. The lesson was clear, but terrifying. The galaxy would never fully believe them. Hours passed as Xiron, 9 adjusted to normal navigation. The stars returned to patterns they could interpret. The corridor of permission widened completely, and human influence receded from sensors. Yet every crew member felt the invisible hand linger. Humans had taught them more than survival. They had taught them caution. Every choice made outside human space now carried weight. One wrong decision could lead the galaxy back into the void, where ships vanished without trace. The main screen flickered. A message appeared. Simple, clear. Responsibility is heavier than survival. Ralvek read aloud. We are the warning. Not the power. Not the method. The lesson is caution. The science officer nodded. And restraint. Humans did not fight us. They did not attack. They only allowed us to learn what would save us. Xiron 9's crew realized the humans' greatest strength was invisible, unprovable, yet absolute. The tactical officer asked quietly, "What if the galaxy ignores our warning?" Ralvek's face hardened. "Then they accept the consequences. Humans will not intervene. We were allowed to survive to carry knowledge. Others will have to learn from it, or fail." The crew understood. The burden of knowledge was a silent responsibility. They had seen power beyond imagination, and their survival depended on their ability to respect it fully. As the ship moved farther from human space, Ralvek addressed the crew. "We cannot speak of methods. We cannot exaggerate. Only the danger, the consequences, and the need for restraint. We leave human space alive, but the galaxy will only listen if we do not incite fear. Survival is knowledge, not panic." The crew nodded silently. Each felt the weight pressing down, heavier than any gravity field. They were alive, but the burden would never leave them. Memory cores were checked and verified. Every detail recorded, every observation noted. The science officer looked up. "Captain, we saw what humans can do. We felt their judgment. We understand restraint. But this knowledge, it changes everything. Our species, our fleets, our leaders, none of it can remain the same." Ralvek's expression was grave. "That is the point. We return not as conquerors or heroes, but as witnesses. Knowledge carries responsibility. Understanding carries restraint. That is what humans demanded we learn." The tactical officer muttered, "We were lucky. Others never returned." Ralvek's voice was firm. "Luck is part of it, but permission, understanding, and restraint mattered more. That is what humans taught us. They do not destroy for sport. They control for survival, and survival depends on learning, not force." The crew felt the weight of these words. The invisible cage, the judgment protocol, the warning message, all remained etched in their minds. As Xiron 9 entered deep space, clear of human influence, Captain Ralvek looked to the stars ahead. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unaware of the power that waited silently. "We are alive," he said softly, "because we understood. Others will survive only if they listen. Curiosity without wisdom destroys. Knowledge without restraint kills." The crew remained silent, knowing that these were not lessons easily taught. They would be the bearers of caution, the carriers of warning, and the witnesses to power no one fully comprehended. The final message from human space remained in their minds. Observation, restraint, survival. No fleets, no weapons, no open conflict. Just calculation and patience. Xiron 9 moved forward, carrying the heaviest cargo they had ever borne, knowledge, and with it, the responsibility to prevent catastrophe, even if the galaxy never fully believed them. The crew understood their place now. They were alive, but changed forever. Humanity's quiet power had left its mark, and the burden of knowledge would follow them across the stars.